I thought I saw a Protoss logo there. Apparently
Okay.
not.
This is the PBT.
Yes.
Okay, and this is on Catalyst.
Yes.
But I noticed a lot of maps that replays were going on as Catalyst. Is Catalyst like particularly good for it, or is that just a coincidence?
It's just a coincidence. I was actually trying to avoid Catalyst. I was looking for replays on maps that are going to be removed next season, but I had a limited supply of games to choose from because I wanted them to be on this patch.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. So why don't you walk us through your thought process of this game, and then we'll ask you some questions as we're going through.
All right. So PBT is a painful matchup if you're a cannon rusher. Terran is by far the hardest race to cannon rush. Basically, I get into his base, I drop down this pylon, and this pylon, if he doesn't react to it, I can kill him with a high ground pylon, high ground cannon. So it forces a response from the Terran, which he does here. He pulls some workers. Because I saw him reacting to this, and you can see here my probe goes near the pylon as I try to see if I can get a cannon up, but I decide that it's blocked. So I instead get a gateway and a cannon on the low ground and steal his gas. Stealing the gas does not delay tanks, but it means that he can either get tanks or a starport and not both, because that's just too much gas on one gas. So at this point, I'm going to take control of his natural and get a Stargate. And then if he goes for heavy marines and tank, then I will go for a lot of Void Rays. And Void Rays can, with the help of shield batteries, pick away at his marines, snipe tanks, etc. And if he chooses to skip tanks and go into Vikings, then I can go for fast Tempests. And Tempests have actually good range against Vikings.
I actually am surprised that you said Tempest. Like Tempest is like the last unit I think of in general. But I like that you blocked the gas. The gas is one of the things that I saw when I was going through this replay, and I was like, huh.
Yeah, I had written that down too. How important is this? But you explained that right away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The idea of blocking gas, and it's the idea of this trade-off that they have to trade off that they can either only go tanks or they can go. Wait, did you go tanks? What was the other option? Was air? So you can either go starport, or if you can go the factory. And that to me was like a small a little light bulb. I was like, oh, okay, but he can't go both because he just doesn't gassed for it.
So here I'm trying to get around his bunker to check if he's getting a tech lab on that factory, because I know about the factory from the simulator, but I can't see the tech lab. I end up losing this probe for the scout, but it told me he was going tanks. Now I know that I can just go straight Void Rays.
And if you lose a probe during this process, does this make this almost not possible? Or
one probe is fine. I only need one probe to build structures. I need two for the initial rush for consistency.
Yeah.
But I only need one after that. If both of them die, that's a problem. I need to send another one from home, of course, to continue building shield batteries and whatnot. If it dies during certain periods, it doesn't matter. Because right now, there's nothing I'm going to be building for a while. So if I lose the probe now, that's fine. But if I lose the probe right before I'm going to build the Stargate, that's a huge problem because that's a massive delay. So it depends on when that dies.
Yeah, I noticed that at this point you're using this adept to scout. Mm-hmm. This tank timing coming here puts everything. Does this put this in jeopardy? Because you're getting the Void Ray, but if the tank had coming out a little bit earlier, or I guess there's probably the fastest they could get it, or is this really the fastest they could get it?
Basically, I'm just trying to delay with the shield batteries against the Siege Tank. I tried to get him to hit the Adept because the Siege Tank does not do bonus damage to the Adept, but he cleverly targeted down the cannon to get the maximum damage on that. But as long as I can hold anything on the low ground and get my Void Ray out, then that's a success for me. That shuts down the Siege Tank at that point. And he actually loses the Siege Tank for free and leaves. But
so I wanted to, and because these replays are short, I'm going to end up sometimes going back a little bit sometimes, so don't mind me. In the early part of this, specifically in the beginning, you move the probe around to prevent it from being killed. But how often, when you're doing this strategy, do you lose your probes in this early part here? This part when you're running around, have you ever had someone just attack your probe with everything they got to prevent you from
Yeah,
cannon
I
rush?
mean, some people will commit very heavily to trying to kill your probe, and if they want to send enough after it, they can neutralize the probe and eventually kill it. But if your micro is good enough, you can keep it alive for like 1 or 2 minutes, even when it's being chased by like 10 SCVs. And if you keep it alive that long and your second probe manages to get this contain up, then they've lost a lot of mining time, and that's great for me. It's more important to try and do that, to try and kill the probe as a Protoss player than a Terran.
Now,
When
the
sorry, go ahead.
first, I just wanted to ask, like, you got the kill on the Marine there with your probe. How important is it to like keep that number down? Like, is there a point or angle here where he could have saved up to like 4 or 5 SCVs and been one-shotting a probe on the ramp when you poke up?
Yeah, so if I didn't kill that Marine, I would have had to build a Zealot to get high ground vision.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Should he, one of the things I'm curious is, but if he built more Marines, I feel like more Marines or more bunkers, could he have repelled this back a bit more? So I feel like he obviously goes for the tanks, but what if he just went more Marines and pushed forward?
Yeah, pushing forwards is hard. There was a bit of a window here, perhaps, because I lost my probe. Though if I saw him building more Marines, I would have been more conservative with that. Once the Adept comes out, you would need a lot of Marines to push the cannons, and obviously he was going for tanks. If you instead go for like 3 racks or something, then I have to be more conservative, and you can perhaps even clear out the ramp. But I can defend behind the ramp with a cannon, like where the shield batteries are right now. And that will at least get the Stargate up. And then his tech is really late.
At this point, you're kind of transitioning into a delay. Like, you're just going to be delaying. You just want because you want to protect the Stargate to get the void rate out as much as what the void rate is out, then it nullifies everything.
Yes.
So what's the scenario of him going starport? What happens there?
So if he goes starport and there's no tank, then I'm under no pressure, and I can just like skip the void ray, get a fleet beacon. Well, I say skip. I'll get it actually like while the fleet beacon is building, so I have something to recall if I get attacked back home. But I'll get a very fast fleet beacon and then go straight into Tempests, and then the Tempests with the vision from the Adept can shoot at the Vikings.
Okay, so you tech right up to like how my favorite part is like he scanned. He's like, oh fuck. Yeah. he's like fuck this. The void ray comes out, destroys it, and he's like, what is this? And he scans to find out if there's more, and he's like, oh, there's another one coming. Well, screw this, GG. And I imagine a lot of your opponents probably respond with like frustration. One of the things I wanted to note specifically in this section, you mentioned that, and this is probably the last sort of like replay on this before we go into the next one. The idea of you can choose to build on the high ground, but then you can also build here on the low ground, which you're doing right now. Is there first of all, your opponent can see this, so he knows it's happening.
Yeah.
Is there a response that is adequate at this point? Like, is this a vulnerable spot here on the low ground? When your opponent can even see it?
So if there's nothing there on the low ground when my probe arrives, then you can't really do much about it, because once this cannon is walled in, it's going up. You can try to send SCVs there preemptively, in which case then I have to wall around you, and that becomes a fun micro battle, and I have to improvise. Usually I can get it up, though. You can delay me, though, by pulling workers preemptively.
So that means you'd have to have like the foresight as a person who's playing you. They have to have the foresight to know how to handle this.
Yes. Though the pylon of the high ground is a giveaway that I'm going to do something right. So at that point, I'm cannon rushing, and you can block the low ground. That or I'm faking, but I don't think people do that against Terran.
That's what I was trying to articulate in terms of my question, was that he knows that you're doing a cannon rush. He knows it. He sees you putting a pylon. He knows it. And at some point, I felt like he almost thought that he was being victorious, because he chased your probe away. He got he started attacking your pylon, swarms your pylon, but you build on the low ground. So it almost feels unstoppable. It's almost like these things, like you're getting cannon rush. You gotta take my cannon rush.
it goes to like our point earlier of like they know who you are. So why is like, for instance, like if I don't play Terran, but I would think that if I was going to play you as a Terran, I'm not even going to try and wall.
Yeah.
I'm going to build behind my own mineral line.
Yeah, for this purpose, I was trying to find replays that were as standard as possible, so that they generalize more to viewers.
Yeah. Do you find, and I kind of feel in this game too, that he lost some units essentially trying to struggle against this? Are they often better by not struggling? So like,
just like submitting.
Well, submitting, but like the way he is now, like where his units are now and his buildings are now, you can't cannon up into this. You can't attack into this. He comes forward with a tank here, which is actually farther ahead than it needs to be. It could, like, I know he doesn't have vision, but to hit that thing, he doesn't actually have to be that close. Could he have just taken a more defensive stance here? He's getting an engineering bay, built a turret or two, got 3-4 tanks, and just proceeded from here?
Yeah, so the Marine he lost at the start, that was weakened by the cannon, finished off by the probe. He was trying to kill my high ground probe, and that's actually something you can do safely. It's just very difficult to do. And if you pull it off, then that's really nice to get that probe kill. It depends on how confident you are in your micros, whether you should try to do that. Obviously, it didn't work out from